Muscle power output, which is defined as the product of muscle contraction force and movement velocity, is critical to help counteract age-related declines in functional performance. To target muscle power output, the concentric muscle action phase is performed as fast as possible, which is then followed by a controlled, slower eccentric muscle action phase. In situations when an older person is unable to perform fast contractions from the beginning, they may start with a slower execution and another person's assistance. This can be progressed until the individual can perform the exercise alone and as fast as possible. Older adults performing this type of training over a relatively short period, for example less than 12 weeks, increases muscle power output, rate of force development, maximal strength, and their muscle size and quality, all of which help to decrease the risk of falls. Furthermore, power training is more effective in improving functional abilities compared to low velocity resistance training. To help inform power training, the article published in the journal Sports Medicine, titled Power Training Prescription in Older Individuals, Is it safe and effective to promote neuromuscular functional improvements? By Régis and colleagues, provide power training recommendations for older adults with specific reference to safety. This presentation, brought to you by Talking Sports Science, will provide a summary of their 5 key recommendations. Recommendation 1. Exercise selection. A variety of exercise modalities can be used to develop power. Resistance machines and free weights are effective for power improvements. Inertial exercises and jumps or throws can also be used by older adults who have a very low risk of falling and or no previous injuries. For older adults with specific clinical conditions, certain open kinetic chain exercises should be avoided. For example, those who have knee osteoarthritis should avoid knee extensions, and those with rotator cuff disease should avoid the bench press. In addition, explosive leg press exercises should not be prescribed for individuals with lumbar spine disc degeneration and osteoarthritis conditions, including those with hip osteoarthritis. Such challenges do not prevent using more traditional slow velocity resistance training or even isometric resistance training against an immovable object. When symptoms improve, isometric contractions can progress to dynamic lifting through the pain-free range of motion until a full range of motion is achieved. Moving on to recommendation 2, exercise intensity. Loads between 20 to 70% of 1 repetition maximum are recommended to maximize muscle power output. If it is not possible to monitor the exercise intensity by using the percentage of maximal strength, Borg's rating of perceived exertion scale can be used. A rating of perceived exertion values between 13 and 18 points on the original Borg scale is recommended to help achieve an appropriate lifting intensity. Moving on to recommendation 3, volume. When it comes to training volume, i.e. the number of sets and repetitions performed, due to safety concerns, training to muscle failure should be avoided, and it is not necessary for developing power anyway. As a guide, 1 to 3 sets of between 6 to 12 repetitions per exercise is recommended to develop power. To help ensure an appropriate set and rep range has been selected, movement velocity should be fairly consistent across sets. Moving on to recommendation 4, rest periods. Between 60 and 120 seconds, rest between sets is recommended, and 3 to 5 minutes for recovery between exercises is advised. To allow for sufficient recovery between training sessions, at least 48 hours is recommended. And moving on to the 5th and final recommendation, frequency and duration. 2 to 3 power training sessions per week are recommended for older adults. Also, current evidence indicates a training session between 30 to 50 minutes is effective for developing power in older adults. And that concludes the recommendations. For older people with a broad range of health and functional states, power training using different exercise modalities is safe, and this may be ensured when appropriate recommendations are applied, coupled with direct supervision of the training. These recommendations can help improve power over a relatively short period of time, for example, less than 12 weeks. However, it is highlighted that further randomized clinical trials are necessary to help advance the potential of power training as a treatment for older adults diagnosed with chronic diseases. And that concludes this presentation. Thanks for listening, folks. See you next time.